We're live.
And here we go. Welcome back to episode, is it 2 or 3?
Three.
It's 3, because you weren't on the last one. We dumped you.
Guys, you dumped me and just left me on the streets. But I'm back. Finally, so today we've got obviously Nathan Johnson and Emily. Emily, what's your name?
Emily Anger. Nice
I
to
didn't
meet
want
you.
to butcher it because I wanted you to say it. So I was just like,
Okay,
Emily,
yeah. We clip that. We just make a little cut there and go.
I'm so glad he didn't try and go for Bergstrom.
I was going to say anger.
Yeah.
That's it.
Is it? That's right.
That's it.
Okay, perfect. So let's kick it off. What's the hot in agenda this week?
Well, we had some feedback from the last episode that we want to go through first.
Right, Jason, I know that you were a bit disappointed about last episode because Nathan put the oats and raisin cookie on there. So we just want to clarify that. Nathan?
Absolutely. When we were talking about the Sainsbury's deal, about the willpower and motivation, that's when I was referencing the oat and raisin cookies, because they are the best cookies going in the whole of the land when it comes to supermarkets.
Are those really in a meal deal, though?
Pardon?
Are those really in a meal deal?
No, they're not in the meal deal.
Oh.
But when you're binge eating, money's no object. So
Hold on, are they the £1 ones? Because I remember
Yeah.
back in 2012, I remember college days, we used to have like a Subway right next to it. We used to have a Sainsbury's right there. So you think about, so it used to be £3 Subway deal, right? And then you'd go and think, oh, do I want to treat myself with cookies from Subway? Or do I go to Sainsbury's, which is 2 minutes away? And you would go, my goodness, I think I put on about 10 kilos from that. And donuts. And donuts. Do you remember the donuts they used to have in little packs? The £1 ones as well?
Yep. Jam or no jam? Do you go ring or do you go jam?
Definitely a ring.
Well, I bet you will.
I'll go probably with jam. There's another vanilla one as well.
You see, people, some disgusting people put custard in there.
Ooh.
I'm telling you, but it's also, it tastes disgusting after a while. So if you have like 1 or 2, so it caps you at like 1. You have it and you're satisfied and you're like, you know what? That wasn't too bad. I'm done now. Whereas with jam, if you love jam, you could be 3-4 deep in there, and then next, 5 kilos heavier.
I used to be a sucker for deals as well. So, I mean, this is not one of my greatest moments, but I used to always go, and when they would have like 4 Snickers for £1, and I would buy 4 Snickers, and I always in my mind, you go, yeah, I got 1 for each day now. It will last me until Thursday if it was a Monday, but I always ate them all in a go, like without fail. So I've learned that if I need to buy something, it needs to be more expensive, and I have to buy 1. So even if it's like a 3 for 1, I'll have to buy 1, and it just have to be more expensive. But I just can't trust myself when it comes to deals.
That's how you got expensive taste, right?
Yeah.
She started buying all this bougie chocolate, not because she liked the bougie chocolate, just because she just didn't want to eat 7 Snickers.
Exactly.
I mean, what's the best deals right now though? I have no clue. Like, it's when I go shopping, I'm like,
do you know what it is? It's those packs of dairy milk with the little bites. Like, it's either a crunchy bite. I mean, we've got them in the fridge now, which is the twirl ones, little twirl bites. They're like 2 packs for £1 or something like that. Outrageous. But they're amazing. And just so you know, the best thing you can do with chocolate, I'm just going to put it out here right now, is if you put chocolate in the freezer. I don't know if this is this is just maybe, I don't know, we've just got some bad habits at home, but if you put chocolate in the freezer, it gets way more crunchy, and it lasts longer as well, so that when you eat it, it feels more substantial and the flavor comes through as well. I don't know why, just when you put those little twirl things in the freezer, some magical things just happen. So,
I mean, even in the fridge, because I've left it sometimes.
Yeah, fridge, I know.
Yeah, they get rock hard, and then it just takes ages. Like what you mentioned there with the same thing as freezer. So yeah, it does. To be fair, it does make sense. With that. By the way,
I don't know how you see would last longer though. I'm so sorry, but like, you got teeth. Like,
you have to crunch through it harder, right? So
yeah, it's like oat cookies or those rock solid ones. You're not going to finish it within, like, I don't know. You can finish within 5 minutes, but I think someone who's taking their time with it would always be okay.
Yeah. It's always optimal versus practical when it comes to chocolate, though. Everyone likes to think that they'll take a couple of minutes with it, but it's gone within 3 bites.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
Right, so what?
Quick playground, by the way. None of us wearing sports tops. What's going on?
I know. Well, I haven't got, but it's bloody cold. So
Yeah, true. Actually, I've got my scouts.
there you go. See, there is sports. There is sports attire going on, but unfortunately, it's Baltic. My dad hasn't put the heating on, so we're saving. Apparently, it's either Christmas presents or the heating. I'm not sure. So we were going to speak today about dumb shit that you have to do at least once. So who wants to start?
Go on, Emily.
No, I don't think I want to start this one actually.
I'll go ahead. I think it's always, from a dieting perspective, trying out something that you may never do and learning from that as a failure. So like my great example is obviously doing a paleo diet. Now, if that became something that, let's say that was a dumb shit if you think about it, no one else does it to this day. Some people will still do it, don't get me wrong. But I needed to go through that to learn from it so my clients can never make the same mistake. And I feel like if I did stick to it and it worked really well, I could be that trainer that gets all my clients on a paleo diet and it would have been a disaster. And I think, all of us, I don't think are married to like a certain diet or a certain way. And I think it's going through that actual way of, okay, either you've gone through keto once, you've gone through paleo once, and knowing that how bad that could be for you and knowing it's not long-term sustainable. And I think it's something about what we talk about a lot is long-term sustainability. Will it be sustainable in the long term? And I think for me, it was great going through that at least once. And it was really early in my, I want to say it was my career because it was way before like I actually, became a PT and online coach. It was, I think when I was at university, like probably my first year, and I just got hooked on it. And suddenly I was just like, yeah, this is going to be great, until I went back home. And my mom was like, yeah, do you want to have this rice? And I'm like, I can't have rice for the rest of my life. That's when I realized I need to chill out here because, something, I need to work out a solution because it just doesn't make sense for me. And then obviously education came into it. And for me, the rest is obviously history.
You want to just mention what paleo is for people who might not actually know what paleo is?
Yeah. So paleo is like a, low carb, high protein type of diet. The whole, what's it called? Not Victorian, but it's like old age type of diet they used to go through. And I got caught into it because of UFC and MMA. So I associated with like, oh my God, they're in shape because of that. And really and truly, it was just because they went through a weight cut and they needed to do that within 10 days. And I thought that was sustainable. And obviously it wasn't. And I've had clients who've done that in the past, and obviously it's never been successful. Hence why they've always like come back, or they've always started something and they're like, hold on, I need something for the long term. And I want it to be sustainable for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
No, I need to come back with something. We're going to come back to, that's more for life. See, I've never actually, when I look at my own dieting, I don't think I've ever tried fully committed to like a type of diet. Like I'm thinking keto. I don't know how I would ever, like I probably want to go through it just to go through it. But I've never done it.
I remember when you used to eat blocks of cheese. Yeah, I remember those days.
Blocks of cheese with some chicken. I probably could have eaten chicken and chocolate if I'm going to be honest, because when diet break kicks in, you just literally like, oh, this is something and this is something else. I mean, I think something everyone should try is actually porridge with beef mince, because that's something that I came up with during diet, and it was like epic. And then I tried it when I wasn't in my deep diet, and I really loved it. And if you slap on some like butter on top of that and some salt, it's literally like shepherd's pie but without the pie, and it's really quick to make. So that's it.
I'm 100% on board with that. I went through a phase of savory oats.
Savory
oats are amazing. You can start, like you said, with just butter and salt, just with the oats. But I think a big thing with savory oats is the application of how you make it is so important, because and I learned this from a good friend, Ivan, is that the way that you put it on your oats it makes all the difference. So if you have your 2 to 3 grams or 4 grams of butter and you chop it up into small little pieces and then you spread it across the top of the surface of the oats and then sprinkle the salt, it means that every single bite, like every single spoonful you get a good solid amount of butter. Whereas if you throw it in there and mix it all up, you're never guaranteed to get the butter. So
I used to throw a big
Threw a cow into our
chunk of
oats.
lard like in the middle, and as it would be melting, you would like scoop from the side, from the middle and out to the side. You get all the butter from there as well. Same goes with rice though. Like rice, salt, and butter is like so delicious. I haven't done that in a while, but yeah.
Yeah, the savory oats are for a win. If you haven't tried it, I would definitely recommend. It's one of those that you think is going to taste a bit like stuffing or like an OXO cube, but it tastes actually really nice depending on what you put in. I've went through rounds of like putting like the chicken seasoning from like whatever you know, peri peri or whatever, putting that in your oats. That's good. But I probably wouldn't recommend having it with like milk and oats. I've never had milk oats and then
Wow,
the
it's
savory.
delicious.
Is it even better?
Oh my god. Cook it with some full fat milk and like like a dash of cardamom and cinnamon, and you got like some, oh my god, it's delicious. But I went through a phase in my life when I used to do like, I mean, I am back in that phase a little bit, except now I don't really drink milk, but I used to do the most crazy, like pineapple and oats, delicious. Obviously, all berries and oats, delicious. All kinds of fruit and nuts, and just throw it all in there and just mix it up. But it's good. It's good.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think everyone should try, or the dumb shit that I've done that everyone should try, should definitely be MCT oil. And, yeah, and by that, I just got a look from both of them. Effectively, when you do MCT quite a lot, it makes you learn about your digestive system really quickly. And like there's people before me who used to do just BCAAs and MCT as a diet, which is basically like very low calorie, but it just reacts with your digestive system to effectively eject everything very quickly. And luckily I didn't have full exposure on that. The MCT, which is more of like just a fat source. But when you go super low calorie, it teaches you how great food is. And how actually like it is nice to chew food as well. I think like Kunal was saying, like once you go and do something dumb, it makes you appreciate the other stuff. And I think if you go and do the most extreme thing for a little small period of time, it makes you appreciate the mid ground. And I think that's super important. But I would also recommend just being close to a toilet if you do MCT oils very quickly.
Jesus. What about you, Emily? What's the worst thing that you've probably done, or dumb shit?
I've done so much dumb shit in my life.
What's the top of that list?
Well, yeah, I need to think about things that, you know, put me in the good books in people still. Well, dumb shit. I don't know. I have this thing about being very spontaneous, which is not, it could be a dumb thing, it could be a good thing, but yeah, I mean, this is completely off topic of fitness, but I used to travel a lot, and I used to travel really dumb. Like I was so naive, and I was quite young. I was about 20, and I would literally jump on a bus somewhere and land. Specifically here, I took a bus from LA to San Francisco, and I would just get there in the middle of the night. I had no reservation. I left my passport in LA, and I would get to San Francisco and just have my little backpack, and I'd be like, cool. And then literally I would walk up to like a homeless guy and just be like, hey, do you know anywhere, like a hotel somewhere, a hostel or anything? And I would just trust people, like naively trust people. But I would still think that I had a sense of good judge of character in a way. If you can have that as a 20-year-old, I don't know. I think I've been lucky a lot in my life. I've done a lot of like stupid things, trusting a lot of faith, we can call it, or people, and got away with it many times. Yeah.
I humor that one as well. The traveling is one of those where you have to kind of,
I mean, one of the most dumb things I've been he's going to Ibiza with Nate
Oh,
on
yeah.
prep. Super shredded, and he was still dieting, and we would literally, I arrived to Ibiza and we partied so hard for 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
And we didn't eat much during the day because he was still dieting. So we would have like fish and vegetables. And we would have like a coconut when we woke up in the morning because we felt dead. And I would literally like drag ourselves to the beaches because we're like, no, we have to make the most out of the day. And then come like nighttime, 11 p.m. again, we would like go out and we would dance, and we did like 60,000 steps before 7 a.m. in the morning.
I
So
know.
we were like bouncing up and down. So I think that was, I mean, it was fun, but it was definitely stupid because I suffered hard when I came back home from it. Yeah.
5-HTP on that.
A lot of 5-HTP. Didn't quite help, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
It took me about a month, and I went to the A&E in Sweden because I thought I was dying. Yeah, but you know, we're here.
And I got calmer because the time after that, I actually also ended up in A&E. So I mean, what goes around comes around, doesn't it?
I didn't know about that. Talk me through that.
Yeah, that was mental. It did very. You do that once a year, kind of just as a bit of a ritual, bit of a blow off. But with them, that was 3 days. Still managed to not recover for about 2.5 weeks, and still feel emotionally fragile for a very long time afterwards. And then next year come round, you just get a bit super excited again. It's always close to my birthday, so you kind of go and build yourself up because it's your birthday. This time we did 5 days. I came back on the Friday, but just really hadn't realised that I hadn't slept for 5 days also, because the people I went with, we just stay up all night and talk, and then we'd probably just lie in bed, and then the sunrise, and then when you sleep or when you're at Bora Bora, where I was staying, the music starts at 8 a.m. So you know you basically see the sunrise, and then the bass starts coming through your windows. So you're like, oh well, you know, you're gonna have to get up now. I'm gonna have to go and eat some granola or whatever keeps you alive at that point. And just ended up doing 5 days like that. Came back and just sitting in an Uber on the way back, and just started like getting these awful pains down the side of my arms. I was like, oh, this is not good. I know what this pain is. So I ended up ringing 111, and then just basically brought an ambulance out for me. Thank God it was fine. No actual damage or anything like that. I was just sleep deprived. And I just hadn't slept in 5 days, and that just combined that with dehydration and not much food. It was quite funny, but I wasn't fully aware of how I was. You know, when someone says you don't know if you're sleep deprived until you have a good sleep, I just thought I was just a bit tired. Turns out I was a boiled bag of shit at that time.
Appreciating sleep after that.
Absolutely.
I remember our America trip as well. Like, if you're thinking about dumb shit we did there, remember we booked like a game to go to when we landed in Miami. We're like, oh wow, actually 6 hours away. We don't have a car. We have to get that game off. Tampa, on the way to Tampa, we filled in the wrong gas, and we're like, yeah, let's just take a picture. I remember you said, oh, I'm just there looking like this, and you're like, let's take a picture. This is
sitting on the side of the road, putting petrol in a diesel car, and then and we blamed it on the insurance company for not letting us know whether it was petrol or it was diesel. They brought us a new car and ended up driving it up.
14 hours a day.
Yeah.
Get away with it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was just because actually when they give us the stuff, they just give us the keys, and when they're supposed to send you around somewhere and say, okay, this is this, or this is how you put it in here. Didn't do any of that. They just said, here's the keys and go.
Usually there's like a little leaflet or something in though.
Yeah, it said, but there was no like, this is petrol or this is diesel. So we're like, that one.
We guessed. So as soon as we got there, we're like, let's Google it up. And, we were there at the petrol station. We had no clue. Like, we just said, I think we did like rock, paper, scissors. And then we ended up with,
and you had it wrong.
Exactly. And we're like, yeah, you know what? This is going to be a good shout. Let's do it. It was great because I think we had about 15 minutes of driving.
Yeah.
And then suddenly Nate's like, oh, something's happening here. He's like, pull over. We had a game to go to. Yeah, we were already like about 3 hours away from that game. And then suddenly it was just like, yeah, we're not going to that game. So we missed like our first 3 games.
Yeah.
Because one, we just didn't know the logistics of between Miami and Florida. We just thought it'd be like an hour away, so we should be good. And then
Miami is in Florida.
Yeah, but it's so big. Like you could
So
Oh,
one game was
it's huge.
like 7 hours away, and we were like, you look on a map and you're just like, oh, this is only a small period, and you're like, nope.
yeah, it's like going to Spain and coming back on the same day.
Yeah,
It would basically be that. That's how crazy it is, right? When you
that's
think
mental
yeah, it's like Spain is what, 2.5 hours?
on a flight. Yeah,
Yeah. So imagine that, and you 6 hours just to get to the other side of Florida, which is insane. But that was great memories. I think, yeah, I agree. Like that is probably one of our dumbest things we did. But after that, I think we were good.
yeah, no, it's all fine. Apart from the booking like a really bad hostel in the middle of the ghetto in Philadelphia, that was mental.
Washington.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I remember that one.
so bringing it back to fitness now, right? So we have a lot of people training from home. We have a lot of people thinking about taking Peloton bikes, and we have a lot of people unknown what to do in the next couple of months as gyms now reopen, whether they do stay reopened or we go from tier 2 to tier 3 or 3 to 2 or 1 or tier Deftone 5 if that actually comes around. But what best advice are you going to give people that are thinking training at home and staying at home when the gyms are back at open? And let's start there.
I think first of all is just to have a routine and actually have a designated area for where you do things, because that way you're actually priming yourself into a workout mode, even if it's semi shit still. It's still like your best effort of creating some form of routine. And then always, if you don't have enough equipment or you don't have any equipment at all, I would just say, it's all about tempo control, being able to pause. Like actually you can create so much tension and resistance with so little. I recorded like loads of home exercise workouts for my app, and actually I was pretty tired after just doing that. And so you can get a really good workout at home. You just have to really think more about technique, control, and your own application, because you're relying so much more on that than to just increase in load. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I actually think this year's changed a lot in a sense of, if you compare it to last year, we said home workouts would be like, what's home workouts? Like leave out. And again, I'd still encourage people to go to the gym if your local gyms are open, because number one, it's a different environment. I think, people love a gym environment versus just a home environment. I noticed for myself, like training at home was fine. I liked it. But at the same time, going back into the gym, it was a completely different ball game for me. And I just was like, wow, okay, I appreciate the gym now versus before, because in our lives, we just didn't have that. Like you can go to any other country and just walk into a gym, you buy a day pass and you're good to go. So what Emily mentioned there about, making sure you're pausing, tempo work, going to failure, time under tension, all of these things are going to be very, very valid at the same time. And I'd always encourage you potentially get dumbbells and resistance bands. I think that's all you need, in my opinion. But to begin with, try to go to the gym. I know obviously some gyms are completely different when it comes down to, let's say my gym has a temperature check. As soon as I get in there, we have wipes every single place. So like if someone doesn't wipe, they have like CCTV, they'll come and get you. I know, I honestly understand like some commercial gyms, like, you're a bit worried, like, I don't know if these guys will clean, etc., which I totally understand. However, training at home, I remember like I've had at least 10 to 15 solid transformations just from people training at home. So everything is still possible. And training is just like one piece of the puzzle from a perspective of your transformations. And yeah, hopefully that does help for most people. And I think, number one, aim to go to the gym. If you can't, aim to get dumbbells or resistance bands. And what Emily said, there's a designated room or an area for you to obviously work out and just, again, create precursors for it.
Absolutely, I agree on both of the sides there. Kind of covered it all, really. The home workouts will have, the longer you do them, probably the more complexity that you're going to have to add to them, because you get better at the skills and you have to progress in some way, shape or form, and at some point you will reach a ceiling of either like boredom of how many seconds you can do over tempo, or the same exercise over and over again, whilst doing the exercise over and over again in the gym would be absolutely fine. You almost can change things in the longer term as well, very much easier when you have different machines there. But the goal in the long term will be to transition you into a period of or needing that workout, that resistance training, that load that you need. So at some point you will have to decide whether you invest in a little bit more equipment or you invest in the gym itself. And for some that might be you have a designated place at home where you get some Bowflex dumbbells, which and are very, very convenient. They're quite expensive, but they work out for the long term, and you can get so much benefit out of just dumbbells, bands, and a bench. And if you did that, you would be able to last a couple of years worth of training, and at that point you'll know whether you want to go to the gym or not. But if you're looking at making that transition to the to back to the gym from your home workouts, some big things that you might want to consider is when you're making that transition, the exercises that you do and the way that you do them will often dictate how ready you are, your nervous system is for potentiation and utilization. So the exercises that you have been doing, maybe the press ups, the dumbbell presses, they're going to be easy for you to load straight away. But if you're doing stuff like machine-based stuff, or you're coming back to cables, which you haven't done in a quite a while, some of those exercises may be technically different, and they're actually quite different on the nervous system. So you can scale your dumbbell and your body weight work up quite quickly because you've been practicing those over time. But the stuff around machines, which challenge your muscles differently, you might want to load them incrementally slower, just at that beginning part when you're making that transition. Any other words of wisdom for when transitioning?
No, I was just going to ask, like, what were your experiences like, working out from home? I know, to be fair, Nate, your strength went up like quite a bit. I remember you telling me this as well. So it'd be good to kind of hear your experiences and what you did, and what they can kind of take away from it.
Yeah. I did two things. One, I was super consistent. Like I trained near enough 5 to 6 days a week, and some points I was actually doing 2 days. Just because I was kind of bored and I couldn't go out the house. And I normally went for a walk in the afternoon, but I had to take that away because of my knee. So from like 3 till 3:30, I was just doing like more arm work, to be honest, 3 to 4 days a week. But I just used what I could. So I maximized the dumbbells that I had. I had up to like maybe 17 in each hand. I actually bought 2 separate pairs of dumbbells and then combined them together to make one set of heavy dumbbells and one set of light dumbbells. And then I then bought 1 red band. And then when I could do the 1 red band with for 10 reps of each exercise, so it was a dumbbell press, a bent over row, 1 arm row, shoulder press with the band and the dumbbells, I then just bought another red band and then just added the red band to the workout. And then basically by the time lockdown was over for me, which was 3 months, I think, I'd gone from just doing the dumbbells for like 8 to 10 reps, then I did another band, and then I made that the second band. And by the time I got to the second band, it was actually really, really difficult. And I was having to push up my food to help the performance and the recovery because I was super, super tough. Which was crazy because, I was only doing 4 to 5 exercises per workout because when you don't do legs like me, you run out of exercises really, really quickly, especially when you've only got dumbbells and bands.
Yeah.
How about you, Emily?
Well, I spent the entire lockdown in Sweden. We didn't have a lockdown, so I went to the gym when everyone else wasn't. So I can't really say anything. I think my strength has gone up, but I've been actually using the gym and applying myself in the gym. So I would say I have a little bit more of a boring story to it. There's nothing else than just consistency. It applies in the gym as well, though. It's not just a home workout. It really is, you want to see your strength go up. You want to see your muscles grow. It's just about being consistent and you're sticking with it and just trying to be better, trying to get stronger. And then, as Nathan says, well, you actually want to fuel your training. Yeah, that's what I did. And it's going pretty well. Yeah. Still getting stronger.
I agree. I think consistency, 2 words like you guys obviously mentioned simultaneously there. I think it's true. It's needed, especially home workouts. Like the one thing I noticed with myself was, and I think it's probably a mistake that I made, was I sometimes put it back because I was like, I'm at home and I can do it later. So like I always had a time to train, which was always at 10:30 in the morning. I'm already there in the gym, and it made it always easier for my day-to-day schedule. So what I did was, I think looking back on it, hindsight, my intensity in the evening wasn't the greatest. So I would go in and it would just be like, okay, you know what? Let me do some work. I'll train 6 o'clock in the evening. And if you've done a full days of work, or you're just not in the moment. And I think a lot of people who potentially, if we do have like a tier 3 lockdown and let's say the gyms do close, I personally don't think they will, because what happened in Liverpool. So shout out to all my Scousers. And shout out to everyone who signed that petition. I love you all. But basically, that impacted like me from a training perspective. But I think a lot of people who are listening to this right now, you may be potentially thinking, oh yeah, you know what? Let me do it later down in the evening when everyone's going to bed, or let me just do it when work is finished. Sometimes work may not finish, so make it a non-negotiable beforehand. Whether it's early in the morning or whether you've got that sweet spot of time, and just get it done, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's go on that. That's a good segue into that, actually, just like the timing of your training sessions. That's an absolute bar.
Yeah, I've been doing that mistake this week. Sorry, I cut you off, but
no, go on.
Honestly, I've been sitting working the entire days, and I literally dragged myself to the gym for like 7:30 p.m. And literally my bedtime is about 8, so it really is, No, so I've been really feeling my training has been shit this week, even though it's been good to actually get there. I didn't want to go, but it's been good to have it done afterwards. You always feel better. But in terms of like performance and actually getting the best out of my training, if I wanted to keep doing this, if I was going to do that, I would not get the best out of my training. So I have to now relook at my diary and actually plan it in a time that actually will work for me. So yeah, but back to you, Nathan.
Yeah, no, I that's what I was about to say anyway. To be honest, it depends on what you want out of your training, will depend on what time you should train. And like, of course, it's sexy to say, you can train anytime, as long as you just go, that's what counts. And for some people that does count. Just getting to the gym is more important than what they actually do in the gym, to break those barriers, to break those like associations with like, all or nothing or whatnot. So, shout out to the people that just go to get it done, and that's great. I feel like if you're looking at performance, or even just like trying to get better, and being more consistent, which is obviously one of the areas that most people will lack. It's like, it's not really sometimes what you do in the gym. It's always like, can you be there, and can you just show up and master the art of showing up? There's less chance of a fuck up if you go in the mornings, because it's like the eat the frog mentality, which is you do the hardest thing that you got to do in the day at the beginning. And for some people, it's going to be that physical activity, because they have the other priorities that are higher, which means that you've got to prioritize those other things during the day. You've got to do your work, you've got to do your kids, you've got to do all those type of things. Whereas those morning slots, when potentially someone else is at home, or you've got that like dead time, it's not dead time, but it's early time, which is between 5 and 9, depending on what time you wake up. You can go and get that stuff done before everything else starts. So you don't get to 4 p.m. and feel guilty for not training, or not having to like stay late at work and do the things that you want to do, because you feel like you have to do this because you're going to get five if you don't go to the gym, or whatever, or you don't go and get your gains. So making sure that you go and do your morning blocks, because you know that the rest of your day is facilitated as soon as you do that, is going to be super, super critical. I'm sure there's going to be times when you don't get to do that. Sure, there's going to be times when you just have to slug it out and go at 7:30 p.m. because you haven't prepped it right, or you just haven't structured your week right, or it's super, super busy and you want to use that morning time for something else. But it's always going to be better if you get it done in the mornings, if you can.
Yeah, and I think this is also very important. So anyone who, a transformation, like it's great going through a physical transformation, but there's also a period where you're going through a training transformation. So a lot of people in their journeys will go from, in the very beginning, it could be doing the bare minimum, especially doing fat loss, so you can coast through training if you wanted to. And then as soon as you say to, let's say, your coaches, I want to build muscle mass, I want to get bigger, that's when you're going to go through a training transformation. But that requires you to focus really on performance. It's not just, let me turn up and hopefully I get loads of calories and that's pretty much it. Because that's going to be a recipe for you just to get, you're not going to get anywhere apart from just get fat and then back to dieting in 6 months' time, or even earlier potentially. So I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it just depends on obviously the individual, but at least the best thing is consistency. Just turn up. Even if you, let's say, turn up at 7:30, it's better than nothing, in my opinion. And then obviously if you're looking for optimal, find your optimal time. Is probably my piece of advice. If it's the morning, for me, it's definitely the mornings. It used to be, before I became an online coach, it used to be pretty much in the evenings. But then I realized, like, because I used to train my mate. So we used to be like, he's going to finish work, I'll finish work at the same time, let's go train. So it was great because we had that accountability. But then as soon as, because I wanted to train in the morning, I was like, let me try this out in the mornings, because every trainer trained in the morning. Let me try this out. And as soon as I did it, I was like, you know what, it makes perfect sense. I'm fresh as a daisy. I'm going in there thinking, you know what, this is amazing. And then I trained in the evenings because I experimented it, and I was like, wow, okay, I'm absolutely battered. Loads of things have happened already. My willpower's gone. Now you're telling me to get some PBs. Like, some people can obviously dive deep into that and really come out and say, you know what, I'm going to get some PBs, because I've got some clients who loved training in the evenings, and they'll use that tough day in the gym instead. Whereas I'm completely the opposite. I'm just like, let me win the morning, and then I can attack the day. And it works out quite well for me.
Yeah, I think the important thing is, though, just to figure out what your good is, because it's not one way is better than the other. It's really how you perform the best. And some people aren't morning people, and some people really are evening people. So you didn't have to go, okay, cool, maybe training in the evening is better for you. And some people like to train fasted, and some people don't like to train fasted. And then, so it's always about working out what actually is best for someone, and then working and being consistent and putting the work in, really. So yeah.
And that actually brings us back to the first point that we spoke about the dumb shit that you should try once. Is that all of this stuff is like experimental. So you will have your own, I tried to train in the mornings and it was crap, or you'll have that I tried to train in the morning and it was amazing. It's like that, dumb. You're willing to try stuff, or you have to try stuff that will either be great or dumb, either one, to find your own version of what you want. And no one, you could read every single research paper under the sun, follow your best people. You can follow what we do as individuals, but that's not going to give you what you need for your given lifestyle, and that may change over time too.
Yeah, I think you always mention this, right, Nate, which is have that trial and error mentality. Because if you have that, you're more likely to be open to certain things. So whether it is training in the evenings, let me see how I feel about it. If you're stuck in one way and then you always miss that, because you're like, I've missed that morning session, but then why don't you go at 3 p.m. instead? Or if you've got that time free. And once you experiment certain things and you know what works for you, it's going to be, very, very important. And I think for that, I'd always encourage people. It's a growth mindset as well at the same time, right? If you have that going forward, it's always going to be really good.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about more dumb shit. Actually, once I did like a 48-day fast. That's pretty dumb. I mean, I think fasting, everyone should probably try it at some point, because it does teach you some good things about yourself. It teaches you about your hunger signals, teach you about a lot of things, because you have to kind of sit with yourself. But that was interesting. I don't recall, I don't think I was training that day or those 2 days. Maybe I trained on the first day. I can't remember now. It's a long time ago. But fasting, have you guys tried fasting for a longer period of time?
It's intermittent fasting, but like I've gone to levels where I've gone like 22 hours of fasting and stuff occasionally. I don't think I've ever tipped it after that. I don't think I've just always kept it like 22 hours. But once I read up about, again, something at uni I did, read up on intermittent fasting, I was like, yeah, this will be a great thing. Obviously, it's not a magic tool or anything like that. And you hear about the 16-8 to begin with. I was like, yeah, let me just stretch this even further to see if I'm like hard and stuff. Like, can I hack it? And you end up kind of going more and more and more. But again, anyone who's doing fasting, or like let's say intermittent fasting, it's not a magic tool. It's just a way, like if you want to be productive in the mornings, like I have a rule for myself, which is my first meal will be after 11. That's not because I want to like quote unquote fast. It's just mainly because I want to be productive in the morning. I want to get some work done, check-ins, and it just helps me in that situation. But for a lot of people, they think it's like, this is what's going to help me lose weight. And I've heard it in consultations as well, where like, I'm doing intermittent fasting right now. I'm like, are you in a deficit? And it's just one that, for most people, you can't catch them out straight away from that. But yeah, for me, intermittent fasting is one, but I kind of went in this route of like, let me go above 20 hours because I wanted to be like hard and stuff. But I think it's just one that, yeah, it's semi-dumb, but at the same time, like it has good merits to it as well.
Did you feel hard?
Because I was literally like, I'm hungry. Like you can do like 16 hours quite nicely. I think later in the day when you've got like activities going on, I think after a while you're just dragging yourself, and I just don't think it helps. So yeah, for me, it's good. I tried it. I don't think I'll ever do it again. So dumb shit that you should do once at least.
Yeah,
add that to the list.
I think I did like I did 2 days, just under 2 days, which was cool actually. I didn't train either during that time. I just wanted to try it because, as Em said, the benefits of understanding what is hunger and what is not is probably the biggest benefit that you can get from it. From my side, is that you go through periods, and if you diet over and over again, or you yo-yo dieted, you'll get used to that feeling of hunger. But it's actually questioning whether that is hunger, or it's a trigger, or it's craving, or it's something different that you have now associated with hunger. So for me, it was a very useful time to know that I can go 2 days without food. And actually, I was only really hungry for maybe, the first couple of hours of the second day. And then by the time I got into work and did other stuff, it was gone. And we just have to remember hunger is cyclical anyway, so it's going to go regardless. It doesn't matter if you have a 2,000 calories or you don't eat at all. Hunger will go, and then it'll come back at another point. So it doesn't just stay. So when doing stuff like that, it's very useful to understand your hungers. Thing for me though is that I I just anticipated that meal that was after the 48 hours a bit too much. When I was just like, I started like prepping what I was going to eat, and obviously I didn't have 2 days worth of food, so I was like, okay, well, 2,400 calories times by two is 4,800 calories. That means I can have that amount of calories in this meal because I didn't have food for 2 days. And then by the time I tried to eat that, I was already full. And 4,800 calories in one meal wasn't pretty, and I didn't eat it all actually, because your hunger isn't as much as what you think it is. It's your mind being like super like, well, it just explains what it was, what my headspace was like after just dieting for intermittent fasting for 2 days.
Yeah, it's like when you've done a prep, right, and you have that meal after, and you plan it like a few weeks, or you plan it probably from the start. Yeah, my first meal, I went out for a hamburger, had like a double patty. I think it was an honest burger with sweet potato fries and a milkshake on the side. And then I had bought some like Skittles, which I was just literally like staring at afterwards. And literally, I just kept on eating. But obviously, that was I was really lean, and I had really suffered for a long time, it felt like. And that meal was incredible, but I was not feeling great. Like mentally I could keep on eating, but my stomach was just in pieces. Yeah, I remember that. It's a good time.
Yeah, there's a life lesson for anybody. The anticipation is always better than the reward.
Yeah.
In everything that we do, unless it's a surprise, but then it's not anticipated, so therefore it does fulfill your prophecy. So anything, you can put it to any type of, yeah.
Do you remember in India we had like intermittent fasting kind of days? And so the day when I came to England, I came back and you were like on the way back.
Yeah.
We were doing like fasting. We're like, we're not going to eat on the plane. We're just going to leave it out. I remember, so Nathan missed his plane and we didn't really miss it, just didn't let him in. So then I landed, he dropped me, he sent me like a WhatsApp picture of basically just fruits and goes, fuck it. I'm going to eat this. I remember that clearly. And I was just like, you know what? I also had some food in the plane. You just couldn't hack it anymore.
But that's more the boredom of just sitting in one place, right? It really is, what else are you doing? You're sitting there and it's only so much you can go, and it's a long haul flight as well. There's only so much you can do. Like I used to be crazy. I used to pack down the Sudoku, crosswords, I had my phone, I had games, I downloaded series on my iPad. Like I was ready, and I had always good intentions. Like, no, I'm not going to eat. But honestly, then the meal comes, it's like, wow. And yeah, I would go for everything. And like, obviously a little chocolate thing in the end as well. Like, yeah.
Finish it within 5 minutes, right? And then you're just done. You're waiting, like, when's the next meal?
So, yeah, it's like you're counting down, speaking to the Emirates cabin crew. Like, when's the next one? hey.
Knock yourself out, right? You're just like, let me go to sleep.
Yeah. I think by the time, because last year was a lot of traveling, right? So by the time I got to July, so that was 6 months, I'd got to the point where I didn't need the airline food. But I was flying every single week, and every single week I tell myself, nah, and this week is going to be the week where I'm not going to have the plane food. It's crap. It's no that. And every time I'd come and say, would you like chicken or beef? And I'd be like, and then every time you say chicken, you're like, fuck. I broke the seal again, and then you'd be like, okay, well, on the way back, it's going to be better. I promise. And then 4 days later, you'd be like, do you want chicken or beef? And you're like, chicken. But I think I read something, and I don't know how baloney this is because it was research, but I didn't check on how factual it was. That actually, due to the altitude or the noise that's in the cabin, it actually makes food taste better. Now, I don't know. Yeah, that's literally. It doesn't make any logical sense, but also I don't know anything about altitude and all that type of stuff.
I wonder what that puree kind of stuff they eat in space tastes like then, because that
Love it, right?
that must be like the best of the best then, you know.
Because NASA packs of
Mission-
those good shit, bro. Good
Yeah.
shit.
I'm have to read because there's actually a documentary on like NASA on Netflix, like four parts to it. They must talk about food in one of them. I'm actually going to check it out next episode. I will have the answer for you at least.
Yeah.
I'll try to have an answer at least.
Yeah. Speaking of flying as well, it's like I think it's the biggest version of FOMO that you can get. It's like you just see under 120 passengers getting something that you you know what I mean, See, that's what I mean. You're sitting there and you've probably got a really nice seat, probably like 32B or something, and you're sitting between two other people. They are not worrying about what they're eating. One of them's stuffing themselves with the duty-free Toblerone already, and it's only on the way. It's only on the way to Spain, and then you're sitting next to the other person. This one, the one that always eats with their mouth open, the one that always eats, like. And on the way to China on the way to China the first time in February, because I was stopping over there in Bali. Shout out Guangzhou or wherever that is.
Yeah, they shout to
Yeah, we have to stay in the airport because if you go outside, you don't have a visa and they will shoot you on sight. And it's the first time I ever stayed in an airport 24 hours, by the way. And that is that. If you want anything that'll make you go insane, is the aircon from a Chinese airport and being there alone. But anyway, you sit next to someone and you just hear this, and you're like, oh my god, it's 1 hour into this 12-hour flight. She's got 4 more meals to go.
Damn, headphones are not even that loud enough, right?
Yeah.
You're just thinking, I want to.
The cheap ones on, so they've got the foam over the top, so you can hear air, like the sound is coming in on either side, and you're like,
Right.
I need my like noise cancelling JCB headphones right now.
That's the best investment I think I've ever made, is the noise cancellation.
Yeah,
My God.
talk about how you take them to a rave now.
Do I take him to a rave?
Yeah, you take your noise earbuds to a
No,
rave.
but I will always have earplugs, man.
Oh yeah. Talk about that.
I wouldn't. What, my earplugs? I just got
Yeah.
sensitive ears, man. But I lost my really expensive ones in Fiji last year, so now I have to go with like the really cheap ones that like really sticks up. You look like Shrek, you know. Yeah. But honestly, I don't care. Like I won't go out without my earplugs. Like it won't happen. Yeah.
So what about your noise cancelling ones that you wear in a flight?
I mean, I had the Bose ones, but unfortunately, they're like now making so much noise, not even being in. So they're broke. 1 year. Thank you, Bose. I hope they hear this. You know.
Hope you got warranty.
I bought it in Australia, Sydney airport. So I don't know if I'm eligible to. I don't know. Anyway, it is really good. Like doing long haul flights is the most tiring thing, and I did a couple to Sydney last year, and then I bought these. And it was like transformative. Like you don't get to the other side of the world feeling like you have this tornado headache in your like, because I'm quite sensitive though. So that's the thing. Like I just get really sensitive hearing. So yeah, I think noise cancellation is the one. Yeah. There's no funny story to it. I don't know if you wanted a funny story, but there's really isn't any funny story to it.
No, you've had enough funny stories already. So that is episode 3 of the fitness podcast. It wasn't much fitness, but at least if you're working out from home, at least you know what to do now. We will see you on episode 4, where Kunal will have the answers to whether food in space tastes better than food on Earth.
Actually, comment down below what they think. I want to know what they think about it.
Bye, guys.
Cool. Ciao.
Yeah.